Hi there, rugby fans. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to chat a bit about USA and what's going on there. For this topic in mind, I think it'll be good that me and Stephandre is joining. So he's on the other side. How are you doing, boss?
Very good, Daniel. How are you?
No, can't complain. Can't complain. It's been a busy Monday, so in and out of work. So always busy.
That's good. Always busy on a Monday. That's good. That's how your week should start. The only thing that I don't like about Monday is we're so far away of rugby on a Friday
Yeah.
or a Saturday. That's the only reason I don't like Monday.
Yeah, and I think it's good that we try and do a podcast today. Only not just only for the fans, but for us because we bump ourselves up for the weekend, and it just gets so excited when we see rugby again. So when it's full blown, we're going to be ready for it. So
Oh yes, completely. I
yeah.
agree with you.
Mm. And like I mentioned today, we're talking a bit about USA. So it's just going to be a discussion about what we think because we all agree that USA may be the sleeping giant of rugby, and
Mm.
they've had some success in the sevens circuit, and they actually won a couple of legs and tournaments, and I think they ended really relatively high a couple of times. So why is their seven so successful, but their 15 man not yet? Do you think?
That's actually a good question. I think if I can remember the days of I think it was Todd. Uh, I can't
Clever,
remember his
not
Todd
clever.
Clever. Yes, I almost said Todd White for all the Christian brothers and sisters out there. So yes, Todd Clever. He played a bit of sevens. I can remember many moons ago, and he was that big bloke that could actually run like a Ryan Konkowski or a Pierre Spies that I could remember. He was quite a physical guy, but had pace with the ball. But just if we can see the players that they have at this stage in time, if they have a couple of bigger guys, definitely ex Fijians or Samoans, and not stating that they went to go play for the USA. Maybe their parents moved and they born in America, but you can see some of them are definitely of Pacific Island descent. That's not calling out
Mm,
anybody. I just think they're very good rugby players. They're
yeah,
excellent rugby players, and we can see that. So these sevens have been picking up, and then with two of the fastest guys that will ever pick up a rugby ball is Carlin Isles, if I'm
yeah,
pronouncing that right, and then Perry, if I'm not mistaken.
Barry
I can't remember.
Baker.
Perry Baker, yes.
Mm,
So I mean, uh, for me alone, they play a lot like England played when Norton got to sevens. I don't know if you can remember that.
yeah.
And when Brian got to 15, Habana and John
Mm,
Olomu in 1995. So they try to suck in the field to get to play infield, and then they just give it like a Hail Mary pass to the wing. And I'm sorry, but you're on your own. Just go score the try already. We want to move on with the game. And I always get this feeling when South Africa plays sevens against the USA. I fear when Perry Baker gets the ball. Like I fear it because I mean, yes, he's fast and he's also tall, so he's slipping out of tackles quite quickly. And no offense to Sinatla, but he's not going to catch him. That's not going to happen.
yeah, it's for sure because they're quick. They're very, very quick and very, very fast. And I actually heard something quite scary that I think it was 2 years started playing rugby, both of them now, started playing sevens. Then they actually figured out how the game starts working. So
Mm,
for 2 years they've been scoring tries by just running around everybody, and now that they understand short lines and scissor passes and a late skip pass or just a dummy run or something like that, now they starting to score more tries and more tries, and they've had so much success in developing this great squad. Because if you mention the sevens, you think of Madison Hughes, Danny
yes.
Barrett as well. You know, all these big oaks, all this big names that there's always been in America's rugby. And if I'm not mistaken, most of them play 15 men as well. I think, for the exception of Colin Isles and Perry Baker now. But that's something they play both ways. Which is Africa's sevens is more like a specialist type of game, and then later on in your career you convert back to 15, or you go from 15 to sevens and you stay there for a long while. You don't play both ways every year. So that's something they should still maybe look at in developing both ways, or should they focus on 15 and sevens as two different units?
I don't know, because at the moment their recipe is working. That's all that I can actually mention about that. Is their recipe, whatever the case might be, is working. I think with South Africa we have a different approach, because with sevens, and I have a good friend of mine who's playing sevens at one of our universities here in Pretoria, hopes and strives to become a blitzbok, as they call themselves, because they are blitz quick. And uh, so, and when we speak, and he transitioned from 15 to sevens, and I can remember the first day he said he just passed out on his bed because of the intensity between the two. And I think that's the reason why we in South Africa, maybe we can't adapt and develop or copy the way that the USA is interlinking the two types of plays. So that's an interesting point, because for me personally in South Africa, and I would love to get your take on it as well, is the 15 men's side isn't as fit, first of all. Second of all, they bulk up more frequently because of the coaches, and they want bigger players, because 15 is a 80-minute sport. You're gonna take a bash or two, or maybe 15, in a game. So you need to be bigger. The bigger you are, hopefully you're gonna get more advantage. And then on sevens, it's more about, are you fit? Are you quite quick with the ball? Of course, you need the bigger guys. You mentioned Barrett earlier. Amazing player for American sevens. He's definitely a big asset for them. A bigger guy, but fit. You understand what I'm saying? So for me,
Yes.
there's a different recipe to the two ways of play in rugby, but for America, it's working at this moment. So I think if they do shift the players into a 15 man squad, hopefully they get that squad to train with the sevens players and not the other way around, because I think that's what's happening. And that's also I have a question, but I'm first going to let you answer. What do you think? Do you think that can even happen in South Africa to get the two together, or do you think the 15 men will suffer like normal 15 union?
Well, except for 2019's uh, rugby squad, because I believe they were incredibly fit. I don't think
Hmm.
there was. It's fair to say they were unfit, because they were actually like top of the game, and they were just a different type of squad. So fitness is a massive influence on sevens, obviously, because you burst 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on how long the game goes, overtime, and if there's a draw or whatever. But I believe it's two different fitnesses, because if you look at Siabelo Senatla, who's been on fire on the seventh circuit, but is struggling to make an impact on 15 man. He's not bad at 15. I'm not saying he's not a world class player yet, because he's not at the moment, but he's struggling to make an impact. But then you get someone like Jason Colby, who played both ways and dominated the game. So it
Good
depends
point.
on how you convert, because Werner Cook had a great transition to Western Province when he moved to wing, and now he's going to the Sharks. So hopefully he also continues that great form.
Hmm.
I don't believe Oscar Speckman had a great 15-man career. So that's why we went to sevens. So some people are cut out for the game, and that's why there is all two types of rugby games. So the fitness depends on your type of play. Because no, I wouldn't pick Danny Barrett as for USA as a 15-man player, or as a
Yes.
sevens player, but I'll pick him as a 15-man. But he's dominating the series, and as you've mentioned before, Todd Lever, he wasn't a sevens player, because I knew him from the Lions. Like, he played for the Lions and for USA. But as
Yes.
you mentioned, he was a seven star, and he scored one of those tries where he dived over the physio, just showing the acrobatics. So, and that's why I wanted to talk about this topic, is because is there something different in America by players, and does this concept that you want to now put on South Africa actually going to work in America because of the agility that an NFL player must have? And because they grow up with NFL, does that put
Hmm.
them above like the versatile 15-man rugby and 7-man rugby? Or should they convert to something like South Africa, where it's a specialist academy in the Cape for sevens and the rest is just province 15-man?
That's a good question because again, just coming back to Clever, who played for the Lions here in Johannesburg, and then when we mentioned Barrett, it depends if the players' fitness levels can really increase. And I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to discriminate against any player of any size. Um, you know, playing in a different type of position. If it's 15 or sevens, it depends. But just to be frank with you, it's like the Frank brothers, Ben and Owen. I mean, can you see them playing sevens? No, of course not. I mean, that
In
would
a
be a
charity
joke.
game, maybe. Charity
In a,
game, maybe.
in a charity game. I'd love to see that charity game. Um, no, that's impossible. Impossible. I'm sorry, but it's not the same. It's not the same thing. And I'm very glad that you mentioned Roscoe, because that was actually my question. Did you think that Roscoe Speckman, because of course he played for your team, a very fit guy, so exciting to see on the sevens field because he can make something out of nothing. Do you think 15 benefited him or not? Do you think when he got to 15-man rugby out of sevens, okay, do you think it benefited him or did it slow him down? Did it actually decrease his ability as a sevens player? What benefited him in this style of play? Because you said Guaha, I believe, became a more all-round player when he went from sevens to 15. That's my opinion, definitely. But the question is for Roscoe. What do you think about that?
Yes, well, Kwacha, I'll just mention Kwacha quickly because he's a world-class player and everybody knows him because of what he did at sevens and 15. And that suited his game because he is quick for a flanker and he's fit for a flanker and he was just a workhorse. So he's just exception on the rule anyway. But just to take a quick history lesson, I saw Speckman play for the Pumas, I think 8 years ago.
That's a
And
long
I'm
time.
trying to check his age here now. He's 31. So about 8 years ago, he was 23, 22 years ago, 22 years old. So, and he was frightening. He was a winger. He was frightening quick. And then he moved to the Cheetahs. He didn't have a lot of play time. Then he moved to the Sevens and he dominated for like 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, 5, 6 years, going a long time. And then he came to the Bulls. And I think actually that the Bulls' style of play wasn't his cup of tea. And the reason I say that is if you look where most successful seven stars go to play is actually Stormers or Province. Like I mentioned, Jason Colby was there, Hugh Aplon was there.
Yes.
So they have a more dynamic, let's run and let's give me some space. Where the Bulls tend to use a winger as an inside ball, try take this inside gap, break the tackle. So I think the Bulls were maybe the wrong team, and he could have proven himself because he's going to the Cheetahs again now, and they also like to throw the ball around. So maybe his career isn't over at 15, but I believe he's not the same man he was when he was 8 years ago playing for the Pumas, because the Pumas put him in some gaps, and he was crazy frightening for them. I remember Curry Cups, he didn't want to play against them because they were frightening, and he was one of the reasons why.
Do you know he definitely have plans to go back to sevens after this no show of a Super Rugby tournament for South Africa?
Well, he moved to the Cheetahs. He signed for the Cheetahs now. He's gone from the Bulls. He signed for the Cheetahs.
Oh wow!
He left the Bulls about 3 weeks ago from the day of recording this podcast.
Damn. Okay, I didn't even know that. That's really interesting. I really hope he'll flourish at the Cheetahs because of how the Bulls play and how the Cheetahs play is definitely not the same way. But good luck to him wherever his heart and his passion take him. But to get back to American sevens, or just American rugby, interesting part that you mentioned that some of them do play 15 and some of them just keep with sevens, right? And so we spoke a bit about who was born. Well, we didn't speak about it, but I want to go into that just a bit because of Madison Hughes, right? Madison Hughes, the captain of the sevens team, bit small in stature, but I think that makes him very lethal on the field, like a Cheslin and so on. not so much space to tackle, and I think that's the way that his type of play is really benefiting him on the field, definitely. But I don't know if you know this, he's actually born in England.
Oh,
So with Madison Hughes being born in England, I was wondering who else in the American Sevens is not born in America. But as far as I can find out, everyone is born in America as far as one of the states, Hawaii, of course, still is an American state. So that's very cool to see almost an all-American with only one exceptional player not being born in America playing so well for the Sevens team. And I think they are a very exciting prospect. But again, putting them to face the All Blacks and other major seven teams like the Blitzbokke and also England, definitely a major contender always for a sevens tournament. Do you think they will ever rank between those teams going into the next couple of years, or because what I'm basically trying to say, can you see this team to win consecutive tournaments? For example, like what the All Blacks has done in recent years, or the Blitzboks or the England team. Do you think they can consecutively win a couple of tournaments?
so 15-man wise, I really hope America wakes up and steps up. I'm not
Mm,
saying that they're not good. That's not what I mean with wake up, but they have such an untapped pool of players. Because I remember Christian Wade going over from England to play NFL. I think he played 2 games preseason and he scored a touchdown in one, and the other one, I don't know what happened. I knew he had a couple of runs, but that's it. So he wasn't selected for an NFL team. So how much untapped players do they have that can be converted into rugby players with
mm,
just a bit of skill training and fitness training? So they really have a massive size pool, because I mentioned they like, you mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, they were like, they have 300 million people. So
yeah, I actually have it here. If I don't want to interrupt you, but I do have the stats here if you want it. In 2016, 125,000 registered players.
yes,
125,000.
out of 300 million people in a nation. So
Mm,
that's not a lot. That's not a lot. I don't want to do the quick math now, but that's not a lot. So, and I think that's how much South African schoolboys playing grade 4 or grade 5 plays rugby. That's the equal you're working with here. So imagine how much talent they can have if they just start developing rugby. And it's not bad for them because it's outside NFL season. So why
mm,
not take the risk, take the gamble? Let's bring up the tweet that they mentioned the other day. Like, give us 2 years, or the previous tweet was, give us 2 years with the best players in the NFL, and I can beat the All Blacks. And the other guy said the other day, he can play rugby.
yes.
So 2 attempts that they said we can do this, but they don't put action to word. And I
Mm,
really want them to. I want that giant to wake up and come beat us at our home crowd. Come show me that USA can beat South Africa in rugby on a South African turf, and then compete for a World Cup and get to the semis or the finals and even win the game. Go for it. Show me that you can do it. Because then they'll be a powerhouse, and then every other team has to lift their game once again because there's a new big boy in town.
mm,
And that's what it's all about, because rugby is a developing sport. It's not the biggest sport in the world, but it's one of the best sports in the world. So, like we mentioned, the Pacific Islands, we want them to develop. So imagine America gets to develop. 300 million people start watching rugby. And now you can't tell me there's no money in it.
yes.
But once again, it's not about money. It's about developing the sport. That's just a byproduct of what comes along. And if I remember clearly, about 3-4 years ago, New Zealand went over, played America, and with the Maori All Blacks, with all players not yet played for New Zealand, but with a Maori heritage, if I'm correct.
Mm,
Or there was some kind of funny rule to the selection, and they beat USA like 53, and I think the other game was 70-10, and the Americans loved it. They loved the brutality of the sport. So
yes.
now they just had to keep on doing it. Because I know some players, not all of them, but some NFL players play rugby in their off season to keep fit. And they showed success in how good it can be. So why not just start converting ex-NFL players into new rugby stars?
Yes, I do agree with you there. I think actually they are scared. They're actually scared to let rugby take over, because I think it will definitely impact American football. That's again just an opinion. If you disagree, please tweet us. Please comment on our Instagram post or something. Get my attention. I will definitely reply it. But the reason why I'm saying this is we did discuss it in the studio off air. The Jackal and I, a couple of days ago, we spoke about how the NFL, how American football is very different to than what rugby is. And just a plain fact, which is a fact, is rugby is 80 minutes, two halves, almost continuous play. Almost. Of course, there's resets and scrums, and there's this and there's that. But definitely not as many starts and stops than there is in a American football game. Because if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me, there's 4 quarters, 15 minutes a quarter, 60 minutes a game. Am I right?
Mm.
Okay. So I think that if you can teach at large in the American population how rugby is played and what type of sport it is, and the exciting play of rugby, the continuous play. I mean, we spoke about this as well when we got together the other day, that the Crusaders, were on the first bye of the Super Rugby Aotearoa, came for the second game, pitched up for the second game, and played at the tempo we all haven't seen in a while. I mean, it was so fast. I thought my what do you call it? My live stream was on 1.25 speed. That's what I thought happened on a live game. The guy couldn't even kick the ball over the post, and the other team wanted to kick off. It was insane. And I think if they get a sport like that, because let's face it, sevens is sometimes more exciting to watch than 15. I don't know if you would agree, because you love to fetch and the flanker position, stuff like that. But it's a quick game. It's exciting. You can't let your guard. You have to be focused the whole game through. You need to be up and awake and play. Boom, boom, boom. 7 minutes, go. 10 minutes, go. Whatever the case might be, you have to be 100% the whole time. With rugby, you can lack to 90%. And if you really want to suffer your team, lack to 80%. And I'm talking to the props here, if you're listening. If you lack to 80%, a wing is going to run around you because they had 100%. Because, okay, they're standing on the side. I understand. But again, so don't lack. And I think there's the difference. If they are scared, that's literally what I'm trying to make my point, is they are scared that the fans will get rallied behind rugby, because it's a quick contact, energetic sport, where football in some plays, let me just correct myself, in some plays, there are these three aspects that I just mentioned. In rugby, it's roughly 68 minutes out of 80. I don't know if you disagree with that, but that's
I don't fully. I agree with you, definitely, because rugby is a fast-paced game. But then, like, rugby has to take some look at what it has to change. Obviously, the scrum law, which we talked about, how much time that wastes. And definitely certain things, like when it's a wet day and there's handling errors, that it can become a slow game. So not every rugby game is high paced, and not every football game is high paced, which is fair, because not every game will be 50-40 score. That's not how it's going to be, because that's life, and there's rain and there is conditions, and that is difference in stuff. So, but I fully agree with you that rugby will start dominating. If they give it a chance. And that's exactly what they're looking like they're doing. Because in 2019, January, they got Jacques Fourie, former World Cup winner 2007 from South Africa. He is now the defense coach. I know it's been a while, and we haven't seen any defense improvements, and they didn't have a bad World Cup in 2019, but something to improve. And then obviously, I think Gary Gold played in 1995 World Cup for South Africa. I think it was a prop. He's the coach, so definitely getting in team or players that was in winning squads will create the winning mentality, and they know how to develop because they've been in South Africa, and South Africa has developed rugby quite well since 2007, even 1995. So they picked definitely the right two guys to have a say, but the question is, will they let them have a say in future matters of rugby in USA?
Yes, definitely. I'm just trying to get my thoughts straight here, because if you think about the knowledge that they are getting in with the two that you mentioned, Gary Gold, if I'm not mistaken, and Jacques Fourie,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
They are essentially putting themselves in a position where maybe not a year from now, but 5 to 10 years from now, they can actually dominate in a category in rugby that most rugby fans have never seen before. And that's why I like this topic so much, because definitely a sleeping giant. Definitely. At the moment, thank goodness they're still sleeping. Thank goodness. But I agree with you. I agree with you with that.
Yeah. So I think that's it for now, unless you want to add something. I'm going to let you add something and then pose the question of the day. And I think then we'll continue this conversation in other form when the Jackal is with us, because I think he has some interesting prospects to bring to this conversation as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna steal 5 minutes of your time a bit further about the Major League Rugby. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched a Major League Rugby game before? I don't know if it's completely new. Um, have you heard about this, the Major League Rugby?
I've heard about it since that Buster Rowe and Chris Robshaw and so on is going there, since professional players is going to play there. But I think they have, because I was on the USA Rugby website, and they have where was it now? They have a Become an Eagle, and they have from under, I think, school level, and they have under 20s, and then they have college as well. You can enroll to become part of the Eagle Club. So definitely they have some sort of structure in their rugby. So I thought they had a league, but I just know what it was called.
Yes, that's actually very cool. I saw that as well on their website. It says here on just citing Wikipedia, the Major League Rugby MLR is a professional rugby union competition at the top level championship for clubs in North America. In the 2021 season, it will be contested by 13 teams, 12 from the United States and 1 from Canada. So, as far as I know, the league was founded in 2017, but it does not say there has been a couple of seasons. Of course, with the whole coronavirus, the whole 2020 was suspended, so they did not play any of them. But let's say even if they played the 2019 season, for example, I'm not sure if that happened, but let's just say it did. So it's literally a brand new competition for, backtrack 25 years or 23 years for the Super Rugby, basically. So we're 25 years ahead of them, roughly, in rugby levels or rugby terms. Do you think with the international players or the well, let me just phrase that right, ex-international players or the older senior players in the international teams heading to America, how do you think it's going to benefit them in the next 5 years?
Well, let's see how it affected Japan. So Japan had a clever idea of bringing in players like Agnes Neyman, Jacques Fourie. Even he played in there, but obviously Agnes Neyman went off to the World Cup and stuff. But they brought players from overseas to start developing rugby, because high stakes names gets high stakes money and gets high stakes fans.
Mm.
So they had the back process ready. And that's what brought fans, that's what brought players, and that's what brought the attraction. That's why they were a quality team in the World Cup. So if they start doing that, they just have to do the market strategy right. And I think they can do something wonderful.
So you're basically saying if they follow Japan's footsteps, they're going to beat us in a what do you call it, World Cup pool stage. Maybe kick us out of the the next next.
I'm not gonna confirm nor deny that is what's happening.
That is what is happening. So yes, some of the most memorable names we can definitely quickly mention is Chris Robshaw, and I just want to state here the chairman Darren Gardner of the SD Legion play association or team in America says that Chris Robshaw is such a big name and such a skill. He has the capability of a skill set that some will never have. He said they think, or he thinks that he will change rugby as a whole, or the major rugby league as a whole in America. And that's very interesting because we have spoken about this quite in numerous sets of times, is that rugby is a team sport. Rugby is not just a one player sport. And I hope that he will transform their minds in the way that he trains, the way that he captains, because probably he'll be the captain. He's the second most captain in England at this moment. So that says something about his leadership position. So I hope that he's going to change the way that the mindset of his teammates when he gets there in 2021. He signed for a year roughly, as far as I know. Do you think with Nonu, Sonny Bill, players of New Zealand going to America, do you think they'll take more of the Southern Hemisphere types of play or more of the Northern Hemisphere types of play, with Robshaw, of course, going there? Do you think they're going to adapt to quicker?
So, thinking Robshaw can make a difference in the entire rugby league is the same mentality as NFL, because that's what Tom Brady did. So that shows you that they still haven't gotten over NFL or don't want to get over NFL. So, but I definitely think that when they start looking to the New Zealand guys, and because I remember that video from 2015 when they talked to NFL players about the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand, they mentioned, one of the guys said, yeah, and the All Blacks, I heard about them. So, the name is out there. So definitely when they start recruiting Pacific Islanders and New Zealand and Australia and South Africa and Argentinian players, because we're generally better than the Northern Hemisphere, no offense, but the World Cup's numbers state the same. So, I just think that that will start developing rugby more. And I think the problem will come in when they start looking at schoolboys. Because I'm looking here, they had a draft this year. And on 13 June 2020, history was made, the first operational rugby draft. Over 400 prospects applied for across the USA with hopes of being selected for a major rugby team. So imagine being part of the first or the second rugby draft ever. What young guy does not want to be part of that? Yes. So they have a potential to start stealing talent from other nations. And if they're clever, they do it just to develop rugby. If they don't win anything, it's good, because that players can still come back and play for South Africa and New Zealand or whatever. But just to develop rugby, you get those experience in guys who've been playing rugby since they were 4, 5, 6 years old.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that happened, the what do you call it, the draft happened now recently in this year, or
16 days ago. 13 June 2020, history was made.
That's crazy. So that I really hope we can witness a couple of games next year with this Major League Rugby, that we will have the ability to stream it online or however it might be. I just went and quickly checked up. So Mononu and Robshaw will be teammates. That's going to be very interesting.
Nice.
It's going to be.
That's good for whoever they are playing for.
For SD Legion. I think. All Black in the back line and an England player in the front line. That's going to be in the forward pack. Oh well, just frontline. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So yes, no, this is going to be a very interesting turn of events in World Rugby. I'm just going to pose this question that, and again, please tweet us, please leave your comments in any way and form which where you can on media, tag us in it. Is that if USA Rugby can develop with all the wisdom and all the knowledge of the ex superstars of the game, the Sunny Bulls, the Marnonus, the Rob Shaws, and of course there's still gonna move. A couple of players are going to move there for the money and just for the overall respect that they will have in the USA. So do you think that with the knowledge and wisdom that's going to be passed on to the younger generation in America, do they have a chance of becoming the next, I'm going to say this, All Blacks in world rugby spheres? What am I meaning? I'm trying to say, do you think they can go on an unbeaten streak of 20, 30, 40 games when this giant awakes? Please leave your comments in the comment section below or tweet us at Rugby for Days, Instagram DM us at Rugby for Days. We will love to get back to you. And then Daniel, thanks so much. You can sign us off.
Yes, I think this is a good discussion, and I think there's so much more we can talk about because we only raised some topics, and we can talk about distribution, how they can distribute rugby, how they can export and import teams, and because it's always the end of the year to in the middle of the year, so why not get involved there? So definitely, there's so much more they can dig into. So yeah, thank you for listening, guys. As Stephandre mentioned, we are so glad that we can start this hashtag RFD family. So remember to check us out on all our platforms. You can hit us up on all our platforms. And we just want to thank you for your support. And it means a lot to us. And that if you were here since day one, you're a champion. If you joined us now, you're also a champion because you found us. So welcome to the family. And just last thing, don't miss out Super Brew. You can still come back with that. You can still win the Super Rugby Super Brew pool. I think that's all from my side, Stephandre. Thank you for joining, and then we will see you guys in the next episodes.